She leaned toward her son and whispered, "She looks like the help." About me, standing right there. I smiled, because what she didn't know was exactly who she was talking about. My name is Nora Bennett. I make $37,000 a month. Before taxes, it's even more. And Cole thought I was a broke secretary. I never lied. He just assumed. Why? Because my grandmother taught me something important. She lived in a modest house, drove an older car. What I didn't know until she passed was that she was worth several $1,000,000. She left me everything, along with a letter I still keep in my nightstand. She wrote that a person's true character only shows when they think no one important is watching. So, when Cole invited me to dinner at his parents' estate, I made a decision. I would give the Mitchell family my grandmother's test. I would show up as the simple woman they expected. I would watch how they treated someone they thought was beneath them. The estate was exactly what I expected. Gold gates, manicured lawns, a driveway longer than some streets. I drove my 12-year-old Subaru up that pristine driveway. Simple makeup, hair in a ponytail, my grandmother's small gold studs. I looked exactly like someone who didn't belong here. Perfect. Cole met me at the door with a kiss that felt performative. His eyes flicked to my dress, my shoes, my lack of accessories. And I saw something I had never noticed before. Embarrassment. He was embarrassed by how I looked. And he didn't even try to hide it. Inside, standing in the foyer like a queen, was Camille Mitchell. Her blonde hair was styled in a perfect helmet. Her jewelry was real. Her smile was absolutely fake. She extended her hand like she was granting an audience. I shook it. The grip was limp, dismissive, cold. Then she made that comment to Cole. The one about me looking like the help. I smiled and pretended I hadn't heard a thing. The evening was about to get very interesting. The Mitchell family owned a chain of car dealerships. Cole worked as a marketing manager. His sister Sloane treated the family fortune like her personal piggy bank. Sloane arrived 20 minutes late. She swept in wearing a dress that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her greeting to me was a single word. Hello, with a slight curl of the lip. Then there was Arthur Price, an older gentleman. When he shook my hand, his gaze lingered on my face with a flicker of recognition. I couldn't place him. Dinner was served in a dining room with 6 forks at each place setting. 6 for a single meal. And somehow, I already knew I wasn't here to eat. Then the interrogation began. Camille asked where I grew up, a small town in Oregon. She asked about my family. My grandmother raised me. She asked what my grandmother did, a businesswoman. Small ventures, nothing too exciting. The truth, my grandmother had built a company she sold for millions. But that wasn't the kind of truth that would serve my purpose tonight. Then Sloane brought up Isabella. The name dropped into the conversation like a stone into still water. Sloane said she had run into Isabella last week, that her family's business was thriving. I watched Cole's face. Something flickered there. Guilt. Gone before I could identify it. Camille said Isabella had been Cole's girlfriend for 3 years. Did I know that? I said I didn't. She smiled. Said it was such a shame when they parted ways. Isabella's family owned an import company. It would have been a perfect match. The implication was clear. Isabella had been the right choice. I was not. After dessert, I excused myself to find the bathroom. But I wasn't really looking for the bathroom. I was looking for information. As I walked past a partially open door, I heard voices. Camille and Sloane. I moved closer, staying in the shadows. Camille said they needed to deal with this situation quickly. Sloane agreed. She couldn't believe he had brought me here. Camille said the dealerships were in trouble. They needed the merger with Isabella's family to survive. And Cole needed to be with Isabella for that to happen. My heart started pounding. Sloane said Cole was supposed to keep Isabella interested while they worked out the details. He was supposed to use me as a placeholder. A placeholder, that's what I was. Camille said they would make the engagement announcement tonight, then find a way to break us up before the wedding. Once they had Isabella secured, They would invent a scandal about me. Sloane said at least I was too stupid to suspect anything. Naive, trusting, probably grateful that someone like Cole had noticed me at all. Camille laughed and agreed. I stepped back from the door. My hands were shaking, not with hurt, with anger. They thought I was the easiest person in that house to break. They were wrong. That was the moment everything changed. I fell in the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face. The woman looking back at me was not broken. She was thinking. I fixed my makeup, smoothed my hair, walked back with a smile. The game was just beginning. When I returned, Cole was standing in the center of the room, looking nervous to nervous. He walked toward me, took my hands. He said he knew his family could be overwhelming, but he knew what he wanted. He wanted me. Then he got down on one knee. The ring was large and flashy, but the diamond was cloudy, the setting uneven, much like the man holding it. He asked me to marry him. Behind him, Camille was beaming. Get Cole publicly committed to me, then dispose of me later. I understood all of this in a heartbeat. I could say no, walk out with my dignity, but that would end the story too soon. So I said yes. The next morning, I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I made a list. That's when it stopped being about me. I started researching the Mitchell family. What I found confirmed everything. But that wasn't even the worst part. The dealerships were in serious financial trouble. Expanded too fast. Too much debt. Their main franchise agreement was up for renewal. And that's when I realized they weren't just struggling, they were already falling. But that wasn't all. Sloane had been embezzling from the family business. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, hidden in expense reports. I printed out everything. Then I started making phone calls. My grandmother's name still carried weight in certain circles. One contact knew Arthur Price, and Arthur had his own history with the Mitchell family. They had cheated him on a business deal years ago. He had been waiting for an opportunity to even the score. The next few weeks, I played the role of the happy fiancé. I attended family dinners, smiled at Camille's comments, and I watched Cole. His phone buzzed with messages he quickly hid. I knew who was texting him, Isabella. One evening, I parked near the restaurant where he was supposed to be meeting a client. He wasn't meeting a client. He was meeting her. I watched through the window. They held hands across the table. She touched his face. I took photographs. He wasn't just weak. He was a liar and a cheat. The rage I felt was white hot. But I didn't act, not yet. The engagement party was set for 3 weeks later. Camille was treating it like a coronation. She had no idea what was coming. The night before, I gave Cole one final chance. I asked if there was anything he wanted to tell me. He said no, that I was everything he had ever wanted. I asked about Isabella. His face went pale. He said she was just an old friend. I nodded. I understood. Cole would never tell the truth. He was his mother's son. The next evening, I put on a dress from my real closet. Not the modest navy number. This was designer, elegant, worth more than everything Camille was wearing combined. They thought they knew who I was. They were about to find out how wrong they were. I pulled up in my old Subaru. The valet asked if I was with the catering company. I smiled and handed him my keys. The walk to the tent felt like a runway. With every step, I shed the persona I had been wearing. Tonight, I was Nora Bennett, the real one. Word spread fast. People weren't just looking anymore. They were trying to figure out who I really was. I finally reached Camille's circle. She turned to greet me with her frozen smile. Then her face went through a remarkable transformation. Confusion, recognition, disbelief, fear. She asked where I had gotten the dress, the jewelry. I said they were just a few pieces I had been saving. Sloane appeared, asked if it was a rental. I told her the designer's name, said he was a friend. The name hit Sloane like a physical blow. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I excused myself to find Cole. As I walked away, I heard Camille hiss about finding out what was going on. I smiled. The seed of doubt had been planted. Cole found me before I found him. His face was pale, his eyes wide. He asked what was going on. Why I looked like a different person. I said I looked like myself. Before he could protest, I took his arm and steered him toward the business associates. I introduced myself properly. My full name, my position. I watched their expressions change as they recognized my company. One asked if I was related to Eleanor Bennett. I said she was my grandmother. The Bennett name still carried weight. Cole tensed beside me. He had assumed poor meant unimportant. His mistake. Then Camille found me. She demanded to know what my game was. I said there was no game. I was simply being myself. She said Cole had told her I was a secretary. I said Cole had made assumptions. I never corrected them. She asked why. I looked her directly in the eye. I said I wanted to know who the Mitchell family really was. Her face drained of color. I said now I knew. Before she could respond, George announced the toasts. I walked toward the stage. They thought this night was theirs. It wasn't. George spoke. Then Camille took the microphone. She called Cole to the stage. Then she called my name. The crowd turned to look at me. I walked toward the stage. The tent was silent. Every eye was on me. Camille handed me the microphone. 200 people were watching, and I was about to tell the truth. The one thing they thought I'd never dare to say. I began to speak. I said when I first came to this house, I made a decision. I let them see a simple version of me. A woman they might consider beneath them. I wanted to see how they would treat someone they thought had nothing to offer. I described the whispered insults. Being called the help. Being called common. Cole stared at me with horror. I described the conversation I overheard. Sloane and Camille discussing how to remove me. How I was just a placeholder. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I said the dealerships were in serious financial trouble. Desperate for a merger. The crowd went still. I said Cole had been keeping his options open with Isabella. No one moved. I showed the photograph of them holding hands. The crowd erupted. Cole grabbed my arm, said he could explain. I said he had chosen to lie. Then I looked at Sloane. I said she had been embezzling for years. Sloane shouted that was a lie. Arthur stepped forward, handed a folder to the manufacturer's representative. He said he had proof, years of documentation. Sloane's face went white. Camille said she would sue us. I said she was welcome to try. Then I turned to Cole, removed the ring. I said I would not be marrying him. The only reason I said yes was to give them enough space to expose themselves. I handed the ring back, said he should give it to Isabella. His face crumpled. He said he had feelings for me. I said he had let his mother arrange his life. He had never stood up for me. He had lied. A man who couldn't be honest was not a man I wanted to marry. I set the microphone down, walked off the stage. The crowd parted for me like water. No one spoke. Behind me, chaos began. I didn't look back. The drive home was quiet. The Mitchells lost everything they thought made them powerful. And I walked away with something they never had. Character. I'm Nora Bennett. And I learned. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time.